Greetings and welcome to LA Quill. Today we're diving into Chapter 9 of Arianna's tale. Darian and Tarius were ambling across the plains, intending to eventually reach Icana Valley. They weren't in any particular hurry and had decided to enjoy the scenery for a while. It was still early morning and they didn't intend to be in Icana Valley until the next day. It gave Darian enough time to get there at the rate he normally traveled, which was all to the good because he was more than dawdling. It seemed like he never wanted to actually get to Icana Valley. Maybe he didn't. Going back there was going to mean having to face the sister he'd abandoned 3 years ago. They had resupplied in Sitha and found a mage who was willing to attempt the gully with them. The man would be ready as soon as they returned from their visit to Icana Valley. They figured they'd remain with Arianna for a week and then return to the capital to meet the young mage who was eager to test his skills, both physical and magical. Then it was back to the mountains for all of them. The two friends moved slowly, chatting about nothing in particular. Suddenly, Tarius pulled his mount to a quick halt and pointed. "Darian, is it my imagination, or is that a full regiment of the Republican army?" Darian stopped as well and squinted in the morning light. They were some distance away and it was difficult to see, but Darian eventually agreed with his friend. "I think you're right. What could they be doing this far north? They never crossed the Arden River. The king was very fond of pretending that anything north of the Arden River didn't exist. There wasn't even a real garrison at or near any of the towns, not even ones vital to the economy. No wonder the Imperials made off with so many Republican slaves. There was no one to stop them." "Let's go find out," Tarius suggested. The movement of the Republican army, even a small part of it, was beyond curious. Darian nodded, just as curious. After living with his father in Sitha, he knew a few things about how the Republic operated. He knew that everything north of the Arden River was generally considered unimportant, except for the resources it could provide. Only a single outpost was garrisoned in the north, and that one only to keep Imperial troops from crossing through the ice shelf in large numbers, if they ever decided to try. A regiment crossing the river into the northern half of the Republic most likely meant invasion from the east. Unthinkable, but there weren't many other conclusions. Logic told him it had to be an invasion. The troops noticed them approaching and came to a halt, waiting for the men to approach. As the pair rode closer, they saw that they had been correct. It was a full regiment, 100 troops, 1/4 of them cavalry. Darian recognized their commander. He and Tarius had diced with the man on more than one occasion back in Sitha. He was a decent man and a good commander, always getting the most from those under his command. If this man was here, this wasn't a foolhardy mission. "Bolin!" he shouted, raising his hand in greeting. He immediately gained the attention of the commander, who recognized the young man riding toward him. Commander Bolin smiled. He liked Darian, though he wished the circumstances were more pleasant. Tarius he could do without. In his opinion, the man was lazy and basically a waste of skin. As the two rode up, he ordered the regiment to keep moving. They had no time to delay and he could speak to Darian while they rode. Once he explained the reason for their presence here, Bolin was sure Darian would accompany them to their destination. "What's going on, Bolin?" Darian asked. Bolin had no qualms about discussing the situation with Darian. He was his father's son, after all, despite the bad blood between them. "I'll tell you what I know. 2 days ago we received a message that the garrison at Bernaria had been attacked. We had 2 regiments there, and almost everyone was killed. Out of the 200 men stationed there, only 6 survived. One of those 6 sent a message via the towers to Sitha. The message said that hundreds of troops attacked, and they were definitely Imperial. The message had said more, but the rest could wait." "Through the ice shelf?" Tarius asked, incredulous. He couldn't imagine anyone actually crossing that thoroughly inhospitable environment. If he and Darian couldn't do it, he didn't see how the Imperials could. Bolin nodded. "We think they've been training mages specifically to cross the shelf. Mages taught to turn away that murderous wind, the wind that keeps us from crossing or even entering. It's the only way a force that size could have made it." He looked at them intently. We've been expecting this for some time. Well, not this exactly, but we knew Imperial troops would eventually cross the ice shelf in large numbers. We just thought we were better prepared. Apparently, we underestimated them. Darian ran his fingers through his hair, and it stood on end, making him look comical. No one laughed. They must have mages to spare if they can afford to do that. Mages trained just for the ice shelf. No one was sure how many mages the Empire had, but it seemed likely that they had more than the Republic. Our reports indicate that they have more mages than we can count, Bolin replied. But those reports are sketchy at best. And you know how I feel about sketchy reports. Bolin wanted concrete information. They weren't getting that out of the Empire. Tarius, suddenly hungry, took an apple out of his pack. So you're heading to Bonaria then? He started to snack, wondering how many apples he had left. Bolin shook his head. No. The Imperial troops would have moved on by the time we reached it. The messenger said one survivor overheard something. Apparently they're on a slave hunt, not merely a raid. The king would have ignored this, as he has ignored the raids, but the Senate voted unanimously to send a military force this time. And in the Republic, the Senate could override the king only if all united. They rarely united behind anything. The king had not been pleased, but Bolin didn't mention that. Darian would figure it out. Tarius raised an eyebrow. Slave hunt? For hundreds of slaves. They haven't done more than simple raiding in what, 100 years? And to destroy the outpost, it's unexpected. It's been all hit and run until now, and they don't usually do much damage. No wonder the Senate sent a whole regiment. The change in tactics was a concern. Bolin gave Tarius a look that was almost respect. He hadn't thought Tarius cared about anything beyond food and wouldn't have expected him to know the distinction between a raid and a hunt. Maybe there's more to him than I thought. Our job is to stop them, the commander said quietly. Darian spoke now. Bolin, why are you on the grasslands then? Shouldn't you be heading towards Bonaria? That's where they'll gather their slaves, and you'll get there faster through the woods. The Yarians were skilled at traveling in wooded areas. They'd make better time than the Imperials. Dreading the question, Bolin answered anyway. He had no desire to lie to a friend, and certainly not this friend. The message had an additional piece of information. The survivor overheard something else. Apparently they're after a specific village. He met Darian's eye. Your home, Icana Valley. Darian and Tarius both started speaking at once. After a moment, Bolin managed to get a few words in, but there wasn't much to say. They already were riding hard, already pushing the regiment. If their information was accurate enough, and if the Imperials were slowed by the forest, they might make it in time. The sun had almost set by the time they reached the small village, or rather, what was left of the small village. Icana Valley had clearly been attacked that morning, and every resident had either been taken or killed. Troops were already burying bodies and putting out the fires that still burned. The place looked as if it had been thrashed by a dozen natural disasters. Darian looked around at the devastation. Before anyone could stop him, he spurred his horse toward the cottage he had once shared with his mother and sister, praying for the first time in years. Tarius followed, but motioned for Bolin to stay behind. Tarius already knew they wouldn't find anything. They searched the cottage, untouched, as well as the surrounding forest. They checked the riverbanks and even rode to the ocean. They covered every inch of Icana Valley, every bush, every tree, searching for Arianna or some sign of her. She wasn't among the dead, which provided some hope, but that didn't ease their fears. When they couldn't find her, both began to fear the worst. Returning to the cottage, Tarius looked more closely. He had known Arianna for years before he and Darian had left, and he knew she never would have left half-eaten food out to attract insects. Yet remnants of a meal sat on the table. Herbs were partially prepared on her cutting board, but not sorted or stored, unlike her. The living area looked as if someone had been in the middle of something. He entered Arianna's small bedchamber and saw the wardrobe open and empty. The bed was a mess. Arianna would never have left it like that. She prided herself on her neatness. Even when she slept, she barely disturbed the sheets. Tarius went to find Darian, dread sinking in his stomach. Darian was in the village, searching burnt buildings, sifting through rubble, checking beneath bodies that had yet to be moved. Tarius approached him and took his arm firmly, leading him away. She's not here. Darian's eyes were wild with fear. What? Of course she's here, somewhere, hiding maybe, or... Tarius shook his head. No, she's not. Her things are gone, but the state of her cottage. Darian, they took her. He didn't voice his full thoughts. He didn't want to say aloud what likely awaited a girl as pretty as Arianna in the hands of slave hunters. Darian started shaking his head in denial. She's gone, Darian, Tarius said softly. We have to start dealing with that. Darian snapped, What do you mean? You want to leave her with them, trapped as a slave, don't you? He needed an outlet for his rage, and Tarius was safe, a friend who wouldn't strike back. It stung, but Tarius let it pass. I didn't say that. But if you can't acknowledge she's not here, how are we supposed to rescue her? Rescue? Yes, idiot, rescue her. Tarius rolled his eyes. She might be your sister, but she's my friend. Besides, the regiment will go after the slave train. They can't ignore that 200 people are missing. They have to go, and we'll go with them. Just as Tarius had said, the troops were already preparing to follow the trail. There were several candle marks behind the Imperials, but with Darian and Tarius to guide them, they'd make better time. They knew the terrain, the Imperials didn't. They would have to hurry if they were to catch them before they crossed the ice shelf. Even if they had mages capable of crossing into the Abital Empire, which they didn't, there was a garrison on the other side of the pass. Their single regiment was no match for it. Reports indicated that Imperial garrisons near the ice shelf and the gully typically numbered close to 1,000, and the outpost of Dupree belonged to the heir to the throne, meaning even more troops and better trained. The Imperials trained for war even during peace. That made them deadly, and their leaders near geniuses in the art of war. Only the mountains of Mylara kept their full force at bay. Darian finally understood what Arianna had meant about blaming herself for something he couldn't have predicted. If he had been here, he could have helped her, could have protected her, could have done something. He only prayed that it wouldn't be too late to save his sister from the consequences of his own negligence. And that's our tale from L.A. Quill today. If you enjoyed this chapter, let me know your favorite moment in the comments. Until next time, may your stories always be magical.